Oh, hello, everybody. I'm Natalie Webster, and this is Chat with Nat, where I interview people in and around our Lake Minnetonka community and beyond who are creating community in the places we love. And it is Life Coach Friday, which means it is Annette Walters Day. Annette Walters is with Relo Women. She works all over the country helping individuals, women transition very smoothly, or I think of it as smoothly as possible when relocating. She's also a trained life coach, which is why she joined us for Life Coach Friday every other Friday. So join the conversation, post your questions in the comments, post your thoughts in the comments, and we'll be able to take them up because this is live. Welcome, Annette. Good morning.
Good morning, Natalie. It is always good to see you. I enjoy every conversation we have with each other.
Me too. So today we are talking about mindset. So what I'm going to let you kick it off and kind of explain more what the topic is today and what we're talking about.
Yeah, mindset is one of those things that you're hearing everywhere. I think since COVID hit and we have gotten what we're 14 to 16 months in now,
Hmm.
we talk a lot about mental health and wellness, and mindset is one of those buzzwords that everybody talks about. But what I find is that not too many people understand what it is. As a matter of fact, I see more often that it is that they think that it's something that it's not. And
Mm.
so, um, what I will let you know, Natalie, is that I can hear you typing, and
Oh,
just in
good.
case you want to know.
Yes. No, that's good. I realized I didn't put what we're talking about on the screen, so I wanted to add it in.
Excellent,
Today we're
excellent.
talking about mindset for
What
when
is it?
people
How
jump
do we use
in.
it?
Yeah.
And so, mindset, a lot of people talk about in terms of, I got to wrap my head around that. I got this big to-do list that I need to get done, or I'll find somebody to hold myself accountable for this. And it really where I see it is in the what I call the action line, the do line. That thing, we concentrate on so much of what we should do or not do. And mindset actually comes way before that. And I'm gonna have to find where I found this definition because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But mindset is that thing that helps us make sense of the world and our place in it.
Mm.
And so it really has to do with our set of beliefs and values, if you will, rules of how we understand the world and make sense of it, and as well as ourselves. And so when we go to talk about mindset, we're really talking about how we think about the world. And a lot of times we have learned these things from way back when. We learned it from our childhood, we've learned it from our friends and family, or even from culture as a whole. Because even like when you're in Excelsior, if you walk up to get in line for a restaurant or something like that, there are certain rules that everybody adheres to. And if people
Hmm.
break those rules, it's almost like the whole line goes,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Because they have a different set of beliefs and values, and they're like, no, 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 this is perfectly fine in New York or California or
Mhm.
down here in Texas, which is where I am. And
Yeah, but we
so,
don't cut in line here.
no, no, there's no cutting in line in Minnesota. No, no, no.
Mhm.
And you must smile at people. I mean, it's just part of what is going on there.
Mhm.
So,
That is something
uh,
I learned when I traveled to other parts of I grew up in Hawaii where we do smile at everyone. And maybe that, I think, in large part why I love Minnesota. But when I've been to other states and have done that, especially when walking on a trail, I've had friends who live there. This happened in Seattle say, "What are you doing?"
mhm. Yeah, no, it's like I love this, I have this story about I had a friend who moved to Minneapolis from Philadelphia. And at one point, she came to me and she said, "Why are they smiling at me when I'm in the grocery store?" She almost came over and kind of whispered it to me. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "Well, I'm just in the grocery store. I'm trying to just get grapefruit. Why are they smiling at me and maybe talking to me?" I'm like, "Oh, honey, that's just Minnesota. That's what
Mhm.
they do." It's called Minnesota Nice, and it's fine. You're fine. There's nothing dangerous. But her
Mhm.
rules, her mindset for interaction with people that you don't know is that you always keep your eyes down. You don't actually make eye contact when you live, I guess, in Philadelphia, because that could equal either aggression or danger.
Mm.
And so it's again, it's these rules and these things. Mhm.
So then someone like that, and that's a great example. So she lives in Philadelphia and it's one way, but then, moving to Minnesota and especially around the area where I live, there's a lot of interaction because we have these lakes and we have these parks and we have these trails and you're always coming up, you're running into people or you're talking to strangers. I absolutely love that about our community. So to your point, then, if someone's moving in and they have it's a different cultural experience or mindset about it, that could
Mhm.
kind of create some friction. What do you suggest then with someone even in that example when you're moving to a place like Minnesota where there is that more Minnesota nice and people speak to strangers and now that we can see people more as the mask restrictions are changing and you can see those smiles again how do you shift gears there if your mindset is, you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is a lot different than where I came from.
Mhm. The first step is actually to recognize what the rules are and where you came from. Like,
Hmm.
who are you? What do you believe? What are the rules that you use? For this woman, it was like, oh, yeah, no, you don't smile, at somebody else. But when you move someplace new, it's best to try and drop into curiosity and ask yourself questions like, I wonder if they do things similar to where I just came from, or if this is different. And then why is that? And how does that relate to other things that I'm doing, like going to the grocery store or, finally eating out and things like that?
Yeah.
So, dropping into curiosity and really seeing and realizing that there is a difference, because even if, think about this, you go from Minneapolis to Duluth, you would think just because it's Minnesota that it would be the same. But even going that far, or even to the Brainerd Lakes area, which is even closer, the culture is different, and their mindset, their set of rules for what is going on is different. And so as we enter a new place, a new community, the first thing we need to do is to just expect that it's different and
Yeah.
almost gamify it. What is different? What do I notice that just kind of puts those radar up going, wait, why are they doing that? Oh, that's different. Especially if it is in conflict with something that you think is normal or you think is acceptable, or you think, oh, why would anybody do that? And it's almost like a sense of offense. And
Mm.
so anytime you have those types of emotions pop up, it's an immediate sign that, oh, there's something here I should pay attention to. I wonder if this is the norm for this culture or community, or is this just an individual person? And so being in that place of curiosity gives you a lot of bandwidth in order to take in this new information, see the differences without thinking that they're wrong or you're wrong, just understanding and seeing.
Yeah, not making it be this is right or this is wrong. It's just different. And I like your example that even within the state of Minnesota, how things can change, like you said, from up north to being in the Twin Cities, there are some cultural differences and a different type of mindset. Do you think, because one thing I know that I've been thinking about in here in our area anyways, I mean, you can speak to Texas, but I know in Minnesota with our restrictions being lifted and the mask going away in certain places, that I'm finding like, wow, I get to switch gears again and see people's faces. It's almost ridiculous how excited I am about this.
We all are.
Because it's like I almost want to walk up to strangers and grab them by the face, but I know I'm not going to do that, so don't worry. But
Oh,
that's
she
kind
might.
of, yeah,
Worry,
I might.
worry.
I might. If we kind of know each other or we're friends on Facebook, I just might. But that mindset of, okay, I'm fully vaccinated. But I'm realizing too, I still need to. My sister told me this. She's like, you need to ask consent before you go up and hug people. Not
That's
everybody
really
is, not
funny.
everyone is a hugger. But being from Hawaii, we're big huggers, and even a kiss on the cheek. And our last year has very much been, of course, none of that. So taking that, shifting gears with that mindset, I've been keeping in mind these last few days, what you've talked about with along these lines of how you choose to view it, right?
Hmm.
And realizing that we can switch now. We don't have to maintain the mindset that we need to. I mean, there are certain places where we're still going to need to socially distance. I'm not saying, not do it, whatever. I'm just saying there are places when you don't need to now, especially when you're vaccinated. And that's a big change in mindset.
Oh,
And at first I thought, well, how am I going to acclimate? Because it's been a while, to be able to wear lipstick in public again without that mask on, to be able to greet people again more effusively. And I was a little worried. I thought, oh my gosh, what if, that just kind of doesn't come back, like a muscle? And people are embracing it. Or they're just
hmm.
not telling me. Back it off, lady. Slow down
Hmm.
with the hugs. I want to shake hands again, when you
Oh,
meet someone. So, do you think too
yeah.
that, like, can you maybe give me some more tools as well for making that shift? Because I'm realizing, like, wow, I can touch people again. I can, there's not as much of that
Hmm.
fear and concern. There's still a concern, but of course, not like what it was.
Hmm. So what you're talking about is, really emerging back into community and understanding that, some of these physical dangers are no longer quite what they were, say,
Hmm.
even 6 months ago. And
Yeah.
as we reemerge, these things have been lifted. But you bring up a really good point that your sister made, which is not everybody is going to emerge at the same way. I mean, I think I
Yeah.
told a story a couple of weeks ago about the fact that I went to the Dallas Arboretum and we were all outside, we were all masked, and yet I had this, group of 8 or 10 people coming at me. We're all masked outside, but we're going through this narrow passageway, and I'm going, people bad, because frankly, taking on to that mindset over the last, year or so helped me to be able to stay in my house and not be crazy,
Hmm.
not be just, anxious to get out and see people and be part of the world. And so the biggest thing to realize in this is that everybody is emerging with their own set of rules, which is going to be very unusual.
Hmm.
It is usually within a community, we have certain rules that we all agree to. But right now, I would suspect for the next 6 to 9 months, it is going to be not that. Have I frozen on your side?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh, I came back.
Nope.
So I just oddly enough, I just went to a conference this weekend,
Yeah.
out in Nashville, and they had us socially distanced, so it was in a conference room, but, like, we were 6 or 8 feet away from each other in this, but when we registered, we got to put on our name tag a red dot, a yellow dot, or a green dot. I went for 2 green dots, just so you know, because so you can hug me. But the red dot meant not ready for it.
Oh,
The yellow dot was ask me first. And then the green dot was,
come at
yeah, bring
me.
it in. We're open for hugging. We're open for hugging. And
Ah,
so which was really important going to Tennessee for a couple of reasons. And you know what? Actually, I'd like to see them move this forward even without COVID. Because as you said, Hawaii is for hugging. When I moved to Minnesota from the South, because I grew up in South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas, big hugging Southern states. That really is not a Minnesota thing, and it's a little unnerving to some of the people that you introduce yourselves to. Like, when I first introduced myself to my in-laws, of course, I would hug them. They were,
yeah.
they were the parents of this man that I loved or whatever, and they were like, "What?" They took them, but was like, "Whoa, wait, what are you doing? What is this?" Type of a thing, because they just didn't really know me yet. And so, but yeah, it's something that everybody gets practice at, which is the unique thing about this situation is because everybody who's coming out of COVID really has a very similar experience to people that come into new cities as they're relocating from place to place. And,
Exactly.
ultimately, we talk about divisiveness and that sort of thing over the last couple of years here in the United States. But this experience actually gives all of us a shared experience, which ultimately draws us together.
And if you really and we're talking about mindset, and that is kind of the thing too. If we, I can see, maintain a healthy mindset about going back and getting back out there and interacting with each other again, and
Mhm.
not, dealing with the level of restrictions that we had. There's a couple different ways you could go at it. It could be fearful or worrisome, but if you have the mindset of, like, I'm trying to maintain, of, this is fantastic because I get to see people again. I mean, literally see them. I am, I'm getting tired of going up to my sister in Kowalski's and it's not her with a mask and sometimes sunglasses. And,
Mhm.
I've done that multiple times. It's embarrassing. And then when it's someone I know, I think, oh my gosh, I just missed that person because I didn't realize that it was someone that I knew. This changing the mindset of, I want to go back. And I don't even like to say to how things are because I don't want to go back to how things were. I want to go back to having an interactive experience with people in the community again and having community events again. But I want to
Mhm.
go back with the mindset of not taking it for granted because I really feel, having not been able to experience so many things over the last year, the Lake Minnetonka 4th of July fireworks. I mean, you know how big that is, that whole
Mhm.
event, a lot of the events that we normally would have around the area. But now that they're happening again, I don't know if you remember Crazy Days. Crazy Days in Excelsior is happening in July. There's going to be a version of Art on the Lake tied in with Apple Day. There's all these things happening. Is if we maintain that mindset of, let's go back at it, but let's do it better than we did before. Let's be even better community members. And for me, I feel like it's kind of a hitting the refresh button, if you will,
Mhm.
of going back out into the community, but being able to do so with an even better mindset. Let's be even more conscious about each other, and respect how someone else chooses to walk into this, because I like what you said about not everyone is returning with the same mindset.
Mhm. Yeah, that can't be taken for granted anymore. I love what you talked about. I'm gonna back up a little bit to the beginning of that, and you were saying that you wanted to appreciate being able to be back out there and really that cliche, having an attitude of gratitude.
Hmm.
And so, from a life coach standpoint, if you are going back in and your intention, your mindset that you wanna hold on to the whole time is to be in gratitude as
Hmm.
you get into these different events, as you greet people that aren't your sister, maybe even at the Kowalskis,
Hmm.
I how do you do that? What do you have to think in order to have gratitude wherever you show up?
I think for me, one of the tools when I'm feeling, if I'm getting stressed out or I find myself feeling kind of, stuck, and the solution for me, always what works, is just finding things to be grateful for, focusing on those things. So for me, I think it's being able to look at it with completely fresh eyes. That's why, I mean, I don't want to go back into my community and have it be how it was before. I want to look at it like it's the first time that I've
And
stepped
so
foot
how would you
here.
see that?
I would see it from a very curious standpoint. I'd be, just being more present, because this is the thing. I had told you before we went live, I went for a walk in my neighborhood this morning early, something I don't normally do. And I was just amazed at how much space there was and the quiet. And I'm looking around and I'm enjoying it. And I'm thinking to myself, why is this so different from before? And I realized it was because I wasn't present for these things. I would be taking a walk, but just thinking about work and this and that, and not really looking around and exploring and being curious about, what kind of flower is that? Where did that come from? What is that bird? Having this almost childlike curiosity. And that for me is the mindset that I want to change and maintain going back out into our community now that we're post so many of these restrictions. I guess that's how I would
Mhm.
describe it.
So to be present,
Hmm.
so as you go out, say on your next walk, what will you think before you leave the house to be in that place of being present?
Number one, I am so thankful to live in an area where, I mean, there are all these trails. I live near the Dakota Regional Trail, which is absolutely beautiful, flat, paved for miles and miles and miles, you know? I think just really seeing it. I don't know if that makes sense. Just before I felt like I took it for granted, I always assumed that it would be there. And it's not often until something is taken away from you that you realize it's not always going to be there. We do it, all the time with people who sometimes we take for granted. But places, in the community, even being able to walk into a restaurant again and sit down and have that experience, just those fresh eyes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not with the assumption that it's going to be there tomorrow or that I'm going to be able to do it tomorrow. I want to do it
Mhm.
and really experience it today.
I understand what you're saying there because I ate in a restaurant for the first time while I was in Nashville. And while I was there, I mean, I had actually just ordered takeout and there weren't too many people sitting at the bar. So I decided just to eat it at the bar while I was there and have a glass of wine. And just, I can still feel myself sitting down in the chair, kind of experiencing the sounds that were going on, the conversations, a little bit of the TV, the banter between the bartender and one of the other guests. And then just having somebody else put a plate in front of me to, bring me something that I would want to eat. And it was, you're right. It was immersive. It
Hmm.
was like, um, it was it was like, obviously, something I had taken for granted before being, well, we're just going to, sit down. I hope I can find something to eat. I wonder if the waiter wants to turn this table really quick. How long do I have to eat?
Yeah.
And we almost calculate what we can and cannot do rather than just being present with what is
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And by realizing, hey, I really enjoyed that experience.
Hmm.
Some people talk about they love going out to dinner. They love, being there. And this must be what it's like because I
Hmm.
had never really thought about it quite in this way. But you're right, to be present is an entirely different mindset. It's a place where there is peace, there is awareness, there is patience, there is just at least in the case when I sat down for dinner the other night, it was not choosing to be rushed
Do you
because I
think that that's the
could.
difference? That is that kind of maybe a way or kind of a warning system, if you will, to know when we're maintaining the correct or the more optimal mindset is because that's a place of where you would be feeling more comfortable, you would be feeling more at ease, you would be feeling more positive. Mary jumped in the comments and she says, always aloha mindset. She's from Hawaii, just like I am. Hey, Mary.
Mhm.
But that's true.
Mhm.
It is very much the description of what you're describing is very much how we would describe in Hawaii as living aloha, as being present and really having appreciation and gratitude for what's around you. Like you said, you described you can still feel what it was like to sink into that chair in the restaurant and to have this meal for the first time out. So maybe, I mean, is that kind of a telltale? Whereas if we go out and we're feeling stress and anxiety, that is a different type of mindset, but it doesn't get you anything except more stress and anxiety.
Right. Right. Now, and what I want to kind of caveat this with is that my experience is something that I really enjoy. And that I enjoyed in the moment. It may or may not be the type of thing that other people like, but
Hmm.
you're right that anxiety, that worry or that stress is a telltale sign that this, wherever you are, you're
Hmm.
either not experiencing it and being present, or this isn't the thing for you.
Hmm.
One of the best things about mindset is that we can change it, and we can change how we view or experience any given thing, but it still has to be something that we are interested in and that serves us. One of the things that a lot of people talk about is, well, I'll just have positive thoughts about this and then it'll make everything better.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't believe what you're thinking, your brain actually doubles down and then gives you 30 reasons as to why it's complete BS and
Hmm.
that you're stupid to think that in the first place. And so it's kind of counterproductive. We have to make sure that what we're doing is in alignment with who we are, our personal values, our core values of how we want to engage and experience the world. And it's not like everybody else's, and that's fine. It's just one of those things that with mindset, with at least going to that place of being present, we can actually see and assess if does this work for me or doesn't it? And
Hmm.
if not, it's just data. If it does, it's just data. And that
Hmm.
puts us in a place where we can choose without guilt, without those emotions that, as you said, don't lead us anywhere.
Hmm. That's one of the biggest tools. And if you're watching, Annette is actually my life coach who I see outside of this. And then I love that I get these extra sessions when we do Life Coach Friday, which is for the community, but really for my own selfish reasons because I enjoy talking to her. But that is exactly it. And I've found, and I've spoken with you at length about how I see that, because there's always something that's going to be good or bad in a situation. And, going back to getting out again with restaurants and getting out again, there's a definite enthusiasm. And I'm seeing it too with my real estate clients in their exploration of new communities. There's almost this childlike excitement. Not that they weren't excited before, but because I think that many of us are really feeling that this is so great and we don't want to take it for granted and maybe find new ways to get connected in and around our communities. And I want to say hi to Natalie Betancourt because she says, "Hello, ladies. Great topic for me to listen in on now." Us too.
Yes. One of the things that I want to bring up here is that mindset has a lot to do with how we view something.
Hmm.
We're having all of the festivals that are coming up shortly. The fact of the matter is that they've all taken place before.
Hmm.
As a circumstance, they're the same as they were before. But now, with our change in perspective, we can see it in an entirely new way. It's almost as if, and think about it this way. So we have like crazy days,
Hmm.
and you have a silver platter in front of you, and you get to choose how you want to experience that. Do you want it to be a peaceful experience where you walk down and you just take in everything that's going on? Do you want it to be exciting where you meet your friends down there and you have, I don't know, what's the best thing to eat down there?
Oh
You
gosh, I
remember?
love when they have the cheese curds.
Uh, God,
When they bring
isn't
in the
that the place?
vendors. Oh yeah, and the
We
mini
don't get those
donuts.
in Texas. I need y'all to send them immediately.
There are
Squeaky
no
cheese.
cheese curds in Texas? That's weird.
Not really. And you have to squeaky cheese curds to save your life. I mean, they're just dull by the time they get here. But anyway, so imagine you have this platter, the silver platter in front of you, and you get to choose your experience for going down to Crazy Days. And
Mhm.
no matter what happens, you get to experience that way. So you're taking kids, let's say one of them has a fit as you're getting out of the car. Guess what? You still get to choose to experience it the way you wanted to in the beginning. Their fit or their upset actually is just a circumstance. Yes,
Mhm.
we're going to deal with it as parents and we're going to soothe them and that sort of thing, but it doesn't have to impact our experience of going down and experiencing Crazy Days. And
Yeah.
so that's the thing about mindset is that mindset is really one of those things that is something that you can choose like a silver platter. The brain loves direction. And when we give it direction like, I'm going to have the best time when I go down there, And you may
Mhm.
justify it like, well, I didn't get to do it last year, or, so and so's going this time. But really, that justification has nothing to do with how you choose to experience it.
Mm.
And when we use our prefrontal cortex and we choose from that platter, then we are able to even see those things that we never would have wanted,
Oh.
or those things that in the past would have upset us. We get to walk through them how we want to walk through them. And I'm not talking about whitewashing. I'm not talking about, ignoring the fact that facts are facts,
Mhm.
but choosing how we want to walk through it. And that way we can stay present. That way we don't have to, have those knee jerk reactions where we explode at somebody. We actually get to look at it calmly, which is the only place to solve anything well.
Mm.
So,
That makes so much sense. This is such a great topic, and we're already running out of time.
oh,
It's such a
and
good one.
again,
Yes. And, I
mhm,
encourage anyone who's watching or watching on a replay later, if you have a topic or an idea too that you want Annette to address during Life Coach Friday, reach out. Go to realowomen.com. There are multiple contact forms, ways to reach her. Also, click on the Let's Chat button on any page on her website, and you can schedule a complimentary session with her. And it's no strings attached. It's something she's offering, so if someone, needs someone to talk to or wants to find out and explore what life coaching is, have at it. realowomen.com. Click on Let's Chat. Otherwise, we're doing Life Coach Friday every other Friday. And we hope you join us. Join the conversation, post in the comments. And this was just such a good one. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this one myself. So we will see everyone for Life Coach Friday in not next Friday, but this following Friday, right?
mhm.
And Annette, thank you as usual. Hang tight because I'm going to take you off the live. And then everybody else, we're going to chat at you later. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Life Coach Friday. Bye bye.